Commander Alex Murphy stood on the observation deck of the USS Relentless, his weathered hands gripping the railing as he looked out at the fleet. The massive window showed the vast emptiness of space, broken only by the shapes of old human ships floating in formation. These ships had once been the pride of Earth, but now they looked tired and forgotten, like toys left out in the rain too long. Murphy ran his hand through his gray-streaked hair and sighed. At 52, he had spent most of his life serving in Earth's space forces. He remembered when these ships were new and powerful. Now they were just relics, barely kept running by skeleton crews and outdated parts. Quite a sight, isn't it? The voice came from behind him. Our mighty fleet. Murphy didn't need to turn to know who it was. Captain Natalie Foster. I thought you were still on Earth. Captain Foster moved to stand beside him. Her uniform was crisp and perfect, but her eyes held the same weariness he felt. Got called up. Apparently the aliens want to see more human ships patrolling the border regions. With these? Murphy gestured at the view. Half of them can barely reach light speed without falling apart. The ships outside were a mix of designs, all bearing the marks of countless repairs. The largest, the USS Defender, had been state-of-the-art 30 years ago. Now its hull showed patches where newer materials had been used to cover damage. The smaller vessels weren't much better. Most had been stripped of their best weapons and technology years ago, when Earth decided peace was more important than military strength. You know how it is, Foster said. The Galactic Confederation only let us join because they wanted our resources. They don't actually expect us to be useful. The Galactic Confederation was made up of 17 alien species, all more advanced than humans. When Earth had finally developed faster-than-light travel 60 years ago, they'd found a galaxy already, full of older, more established civilizations. Humans were the newcomers, the primitive species still figuring out technology the others had mastered centuries ago. The Arcturians are the worst, Murphy said, always looking down their four-eyed faces at us. The Arcturians were among the oldest species in the Confederation. They stood 7 feet tall with iridescent blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Their technology was centuries beyond Earth's, and they never let humans forget. Ambassador Kelly called this morning, Foster said. The Arcturians are demanding more security for their trade ships passing through our sector. Murphy shook his head. They want us to protect them? With what? These ships haven't had a real upgrade in 20 years, I know. I told Kelly the same thing, but the Confederation doesn't care. They say it's our job to keep our little corner of space safe. Lieutenant Samantha Wright entered the observation deck, her steps quick and purposeful. At 30, she was one of the youngest officers assigned to the fleet, her career stalled by the military downsizing. Commander Murphy, Captain Foster. She greeted them with a sharp salute. Sorry to interrupt, but we're receiving some strange communications from the outer patrol ships. Murphy turned from the window. What kind of communications? Fragmented and unclear, Wright said, handing him a data pad. But they're detecting unusual energy signatures near the Arcturian border outposts. Nothing that matches known Confederation ships. Foster looked over Murphy's shoulder at the readings. Could be sensor malfunctions. You know how unreliable the equipment is on those patrol ships. That's what I thought too, Wright agreed. But we're getting the same readings from 3 different ships all patrolling different sectors. Murphy studied the data, his brow furrowing. The energy signatures were unlike anything in their database. Have you informed Confederation Command? Yes, sir. They're dismissing it as human error. Wright's voice held a hint of frustration. The Arcturian representative said our equipment is probably too primitive to give accurate readings. Typical, Foster muttered. Murphy was about to respond when the communication panel on the wall chimed with an urgent tone. Chief Engineer Paul Garcia's voice came through, sounding tense. Commander, we're picking up unusual signals from the outer rim. Multiple unknown vessels approaching Confederation space. This isn't a drill. The 3 officers exchanged looks of concern. Are we sure about this, Garcia? Murphy asked. Positive, sir. I've triple-checked the readings myself. Whatever's out there, it's big, it's fast, and it's not sending any recognition codes we know. Murphy straightened his uniform. Alert all ships in the fleet. I want everyone at ready stations. Already done, sir, Garcia replied. And there's something else. We just received a direct communication from Arctarian Outpost 7. They're under attack. The observation deck fell silent. In 60 years of Confederation history, there had never been an attack on an outpost. The galaxy had been at peace for so long that many believed war was a thing of the past. Do we have visual confirmation? Foster asked. Yes, Captain. Sending it to your display now. The large screen on the wall flickered to life, showing grainy footage from a distant outpost. The image quality was poor, but they could clearly see strange ships firing on the Arctarian structures. The outpost's defenses seemed ineffective against the attackers. Those ships? Wright said, stepping closer to the screen. I've never seen that design before. Murphy studied the vessels. They had an odd familiarity to them, though he couldn't place why. Their hulls were dark, almost black, with sharp angles and minimal markings. They moved with surprising speed and coordination. As they watched, the outpost's main power core exploded in a flash of blue light. The transmission cut off abruptly. Garcia, are there any other outposts reporting attacks? Murphy asked. 2 more, sir. Both Arctarian research stations on the outer rim. Both have gone silent in the last hour. Foster turned to Murphy, her expression grim. This changes everything. The communication panel chimed again. This time, it was a formal message from Confederation headquarters. Murphy read it aloud. All member species representatives are ordered to attend an emergency council meeting in 12 hours. Earth representatives specifically requested. He looked up. They've never specifically requested our presence before. They're scared, Foster said quietly. Whatever this threat is, it must be serious if they're actually asking for our help. Murphy looked back at the aging fleet outside the window. For years, humans had been the joke of the Confederation, the primitive species with their outdated technology and simple ships. Now, suddenly, they were being called to a crisis meeting. Lieutenant Wright, inform all ship captains to prepare for immediate departure to Confederation headquarters. Captain Foster, I want you to gather all the data we have on these unknown vessels. Yes, sir, they both responded. As they left to carry out his orders, Murphy turned back to the window, studying the old fleet with new eyes. Maybe, just maybe, the Confederation was about to learn that sometimes old and simple didn't mean useless. Outside, the stars continued their cold, distant twinkling, unaware that the long piece of the galaxy had just come to an end. The journey to Confederation headquarters took 8 hours at maximum speed. Commander Murphy spent most of that time reviewing the limited data they had on the attacking ships, trying to figure out why they looked familiar. Lieutenant Wright knocked on his office door. We're approaching, sir. You should see this. Murphy followed her to the bridge where the main view screen showed their destination. Confederation headquarters was built inside a massive asteroid that orbited a neutral star. The surface was covered, with docking ports, communication arrays, and defense systems. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it, representing the 17 member species. Look at that, Captain Foster said, pointing to a section of the asteroid. The Arctarian docking area is crowded. I've never seen so many of their ships in one place. Murphy nodded. They're scared. The Arctarians don't run from a fight unless they're truly worried. As the USS Relentless approached its assigned docking port, Murphy noticed how the alien ships moved away slightly, as if afraid to get too close to the primitive human vessel. They still think we might crash into them, Foster said with a hint of bitterness. Murphy adjusted his uniform. Let them think what they want. Right now, we need to find out what we're dealing with. When they docked, Murphy was surprised to find Admiral Lisa Rivera waiting for them. The Admiral was the highest-ranking human in the Space Forces, a tough woman in her 60s who had helped negotiate Earth's entry into the Confederation. Commander Murphy, Captain Foster, she greeted them. Lieutenant Wright, I'm glad you made good time. Admiral, Murphy saluted. We came as quickly as the old engines would allow. Rivera's eyes showed a hint of amusement. Yes, these old ships are quite a burden, aren't they? Come with me. The council is gathering. As they walked through the curved hallways of the station, Murphy leaned closer to Rivera. What's really happening here, Admiral? The Arctarians have never asked for our help before. They haven't asked for help, Commander. They've demanded our presence. There's a difference. She looked around to make sure no aliens were in earshot. The Arctarians lost 3 of their most advanced outposts in less than a day. They're panicking. They arrived at the council chamber, an enormous circular room with tiered seating. Representatives from all 17 species filled the space, their voices creating a background noise of clicks, hums, and translated words. Humans usually sit in the upper tiers, Wright whispered, pointing to the back rows where observers normally sat. Rivera smiled. Not today. We've been assigned seats at the main table. Murphy felt every alien eye follow them as they made their way to the central table. The Arctarians, with their tall blue bodies and 4 eyes, seemed especially displeased. The Veltraxians, lizard-like beings with scales that changed color with their emotions, turned a surprised orange as the humans passed. High Commander Zexthal, the lead Arctarian representative, stood at the main speaking position. His 4 eyes blinked in different patterns as he waited for the room to quiet down. The Confederation faces a new enemy, he began, his voice translated through the room's systems. 3 days ago, unknown vessels entered our space and attacked, without warning. They destroyed 3 of our outer rim outposts. Murmurs ran through the chamber. We have managed to intercept some of their communications, Zexthal continued. They call themselves the Voidborn. Their technology appears primitive at first glance, similar to these humans' outdated vessels. He gestured toward Murphy and the others with obvious disdain. But they possess unexpected capabilities. Our most advanced outposts fell within hours. Admiral Rivera leaned toward Murphy. Listen to his voice patterns. They're actually scared. The Confederation's military strategist, General Clar of the Veltraxians, stepped forward. His scales were a worried purple color. We have images of the invading ships. A large hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing the attacking vessels. Murphy sat up straighter, staring at the images. The ships were dark and angular with minimal markings. Their design was oddly familiar. Those look like, Murphy began quietly, theoretical human military prototypes, Rivera finished for him. From about 20 years ago. Murphy turned to her in surprise. How is that possible? Rivera didn't answer, her eyes fixed on the hologram as General Clar continued his presentation. The Voidborn fleet consists of approximately 200 combat vessels of various sizes. Their weapons technology is unusual, not as advanced as our latest systems, but highly effective. They seem to target specific weaknesses in our defenses. When Clar finished, the council president, a tall, thin being from a species called the Andalri, opened the floor for discussion. We must combine our forces, the Talaxian representative said. A united fleet could stop them. Most of our ships are research and trade vessels, said the Phaedron delegate. We have few combat-ready ships. The debate grew heated as fear spread through the chamber. Finally, High Commander Zexthal spoke again. The Arctarian High Command proposes a strategic retreat to our core worlds. We have already begun moving our people from the outer regions. A retreat? Captain Foster whispered. They want to run? Admiral Rivera's face was grim. Keep listening. We suggest all species do the same, Zexthal continued. Abandon the outer territories and fortify the core worlds against this threat. Murphy realized what this meant. They're suggesting we abandon Earth. Our solar system is in the outer territories. The room erupted in discussion, most species nodding in agreement with the Arctarian plan. Earth was one of the newest and most distant members of the Confederation. To most of the aliens, abandoning the human homeworld seemed like an acceptable loss. Admiral Rivera stood up, her movement silencing the room. All eyes turned to her. Earth will not be abandoned, she said, her voice firm and clear. We have means to defend ourselves in the outer territories. High Commander Zexthal made a clicking sound that the translators rendered as laughter. With what? Your museum fleet? Your vessels are practically ancient technology compared to the rest of the Confederation, let alone these new invaders. Rivera's expression didn't change. Sometimes ancient technology has its advantages. We request permission to lead the first defensive line against these Voidborn. The council chamber erupted in dismissive chatter. Most representatives seemed to find the idea ridiculous. You would sacrifice your outdated ships as a delaying tactic? Zexthal asked. That is unexpectedly noble. We're not planning to be sacrificed, Rivera replied calmly. We're planning to stop them. The council president looked at the other representatives. With the Voidborn fleet approaching rapidly, we have few options. Does anyone object to allowing the humans to form the first line of defense? No one spoke. Murphy realized that none of them expected the human ships to survive. They were being allowed to fight simply because no one else wanted to be first to face the enemy. Very well, the president said. The human fleet will engage the Voidborn first. All other species will prepare their defenses in case the humans fail. As the meeting ended and they left the chamber, Murphy pulled Rivera aside in a quiet corridor. Admiral, what are you planning? Our ships can't stand against that kind of firepower. You saw the recordings of what they did to the Arctarian outposts. Rivera looked around to make sure they were alone, then leaned closer. Those ships out there are using stolen human designs, Commander. Designs with very specific weaknesses that we know how to exploit. But even if that's true, our current fleet isn't our only fleet. Rivera cut him off, her voice barely above a whisper. It's time to activate Protocol Lazarus. Murphy stared at her. Protocol Lazarus? I've never heard of it. Almost no one has, Rivera replied, and that's exactly the point. Where are we going? Commander Murphy asked as their shuttle descended toward the dark side of Earth's moon. Admiral Rivera didn't answer. She sat silently, watching through the viewport as the cratered surface grew closer. Captain Foster and Lieutenant Wright exchanged confused glances, while Engineer Garcia checked his datapad for the 5th time. Admiral, there's nothing down there but the old mining facilities, Garcia said. They were shut down years ago. Is that what your official maps show? Rivera finally spoke, a slight smile on her face. The shuttle changed course, heading toward a particularly barren area of the lunar surface. As they approached, Rivera pressed her palm against a hidden scanner beside her seat. A light flashed green, and suddenly the lunar surface below them changed. Murphy blinked, not believing his eyes. A section of the crater floor slid open, revealing a massive entrance underneath. What the? Foster began. Welcome to Luna Base Alpha, Rivera said as their shuttle descended into the opening. Earth's best-kept secret. The opening closed above them as the shuttle landed in a brightly lit hangar. When the doors opened, they were met by a team of uniformed personnel who saluted Rivera sharply. Everything's ready, Admiral, a gray-haired man said. The crews are standing by. Thank you, General Hall, Rivera responded. Are the ship systems online? Yes, ma'am. All 300 vessels are ready for launch on your command. Murphy almost stumbled. 300 vessels? What is this place? Rivera led them from the shuttle bay into a vast corridor. After you've been cleared, I'll show you. For now, you all need to be processed. Processed? Wright asked nervously. Security clearance, Rivera explained. What you're about to see is classified at the highest levels. Only 200 people on Earth even know this facility exists. They were led to a small medical room where technicians scanned them thoroughly and took blood samples. After 30 minutes, they were declared clear and given new identification badges. Now, Rivera said, it's time for the real tour. She led them through a series of security doors, each requiring her biometric signature to open. Finally, they reached a massive observation deck overlooking an underground cavern so large that Murphy couldn't see the far end of it. The cavern wasn't empty. Arranged in neat rows were hundreds of ships, sleek, powerful vessels unlike anything in Earth's official fleet. Workers moved around them, making final adjustments and loading supplies. My God, Foster whispered. What is all this, Admiral? Rivera stood tall, pride evident in her stance. Humanity's insurance policy. For the past 50 years, while we've shown the galaxy our outdated fleet, we've been building these. Murphy stepped closer to the window, staring at the hidden armada. These ships, and they're decades ahead of anything we officially have. Actually, they're decades ahead of anything anyone in the Confederation has, Rivera corrected. After we discovered faster-than-light travel, our first encounters with alien civilizations made one thing clear. We were technologically outmatched. Or so they thought. She pressed a button, bringing up detailed schematics on a nearby screen. The truth is, human innovation was advancing faster than anyone expected. Our scientists were making breakthroughs daily, but the world governments made a decision. We would not reveal our true capabilities to the galactic community. We pretended to be less advanced than we are? Wright asked, her eyes wide. Rivera nodded. History taught us that when a technologically superior force meets a seemingly primitive one, the results are rarely good for the primitive society. So we decided to appear less threatening while secretly preparing for the worst. Engineer Garcia examined the nearest ship's designs with amazement. These propulsion systems, the weapons arrays, they're revolutionary. His expression suddenly changed. But wait, they look similar to the void-born ships we saw in the council meeting. That can't be a coincidence. It's not. Rivera's face grew serious. 20 years ago, there was a security breach. A set of prototype designs disappeared from a secure facility. We thought it was industrial espionage at first, maybe another country trying to get ahead. We never imagined the designs had been stolen by someone outside Earth. So someone took our designs and built this void-born fleet? Foster asked. Yes, but there's more to it, Rivera explained. The stolen designs had intentional flaws, weaknesses that would only become apparent when the ships were actually built and used in combat. It was a security measure in case the plans ever fell into the wrong hands. A trap, Murphy realized. Exactly. Those flaws would make the ships vulnerable in very specific ways that only we would know about. We've since corrected those flaws in our own ships. Rivera turned to face them all. Whoever built the void-born fleet is using our old designs, complete with all their hidden weaknesses. But why attack the Confederation? Wright asked. Why now? We believe they're trying to provoke a war between Earth and the Confederation, Rivera said. They attack using ships that look like human designs, hoping the Confederation will blame us. Meanwhile, they expect us to be destroyed trying to defend ourselves with our outdated official fleet. A plan to eliminate both sides at once, Murphy said slowly, leaving the galaxy open for conquest. Rivera nodded. And it might have worked, if we actually were as weak as we've pretended to be. Garcia looked back at the ships. How did you build all this without anyone knowing? The resources alone would be enormous. The world's governments pooled resources secretly. The official space program got the public funding while this, she gestured at the hidden fleet, was funded through black budgets. The mining operations on the moon provided cover for bringing materials here. And the crews? Foster asked. Where did you find people to staff these ships without anyone noticing? We've been training them in secret for years, Rivera explained. Military personnel officially listed as working on remote bases or special projects. Many of them are children of the original crews who started this program 50 years ago. It's become a family tradition for some. Murphy felt overwhelmed. His entire career had been spent commanding ships he now realized were intentionally outdated. So what happens now? Now, Rivera said, we launch the real fleet. We inform the Confederation Council that Earth is deploying reserve forces to meet the void-born threat. We don't tell them exactly what those forces are. They'll be completely shocked, Wright said. That's the idea, Rivera smiled. The element of surprise is critical. The void-born won't be expecting us to counter their technology so effectively. Engineer. Garcia studied the ship schematics more carefully. If these designs are based on the same platform as the void-born ships, we'll know exactly where their weak points are. Precisely, Rivera said. We just need to get our crews in place. She turned to Murphy. Commander, you'll be taking command of our flagship, the EDS Harbinger. EDS? Murphy questioned. Earth Defense Ship, Rivera explained. A new designation. For a new fleet. What about our current ships? Foster asked. The ones everyone knows about? They'll serve as escorts and decoys, Rivera said.
The Voidborn will target what they think are our only ships, not realizing our real fleet is moving into position behind them. Murphy looked out at the massive ships again, still processing everything he'd learned. The Confederation has no
idea what's coming, do they? Neither do the Voidborn, Rivera replied, and that's exactly how we want it. General Hall approached them, carrying data pads. Admiral, all ship captains are ready for their assignments. Rivera turned to the group. It's time. Captain Foster, you'll command the EDS Vigilant. Lieutenant Wright, you're promoted to commander effective immediately. You'll be Murphy's second on the Harbinger. Engineer Garcia, I need you coordinating our technical response team. You know these designs better than anyone. She handed each of them a data pad containing their orders and ship details. We launch in 6 hours. The Voidborn fleet will reach the outer defense line in 24. That gives us time to get into position. As they prepared to leave the observation deck, Murphy looked back at the hidden fleet one last time. For years, humanity had been the joke of the galactic community, the primitive newcomers with their outdated technology. He couldn't help but smile as he imagined the looks on the aliens' faces when they saw what humans had really built. Admiral, he said quietly, I have just one question. What does Lazarus mean? Why name the protocol that? Rivera smiled. In old Earth legends, Lazarus was a man who appeared to be dead but rose again, very much alive, just like humanity is about to do. Commander Murphy sat in the captain's chair of the EDS Harbinger, still getting used to the advanced controls that surrounded him. Unlike the outdated systems of his previous command, everything here was sleek, responsive, and powerful. The bridge crew worked efficiently at their stations, most of them younger than he expected. All systems ready, Commander, Lieutenant Wright reported from her position. The fleet is in formation and awaiting your orders. Murphy looked at the tactical display. 300 ships of Earth's secret fleet were positioned behind a small moon in the Proxima system, the designated battlefield. Ahead of them, the official human fleet, including Murphy's old ship, the USS Relentless, formed a defensive line that appeared weak and scattered. The Voidborn fleet will enter the system in approximately 15 minutes, the tactical officer announced. And the Confederation observers? Murphy asked. In position, sir. The Arcturian and Veltraxian vessels are holding at a safe distance. They're here to watch, not help. Murphy wasn't surprised. The Confederation Council had agreed to let humans form the first line of defense, but most alien representatives clearly expected Earth's ships to be quickly destroyed. They were present only to assess the enemy's strength before deploying their own forces. Communications. Open a channel to Admiral Rivera. The main screen showed Rivera on the bridge of her command ship. Status report, Commander. All ships. In position, Admiral. The Voidborn will be here soon. Rivera nodded. Remember the plan.
Let them engage our decoy fleet first. Make them think they're facing our entire force. Once they're committed, bring in the real fleet. Understood, Admiral. As the screen went dark, Wright moved closer to Murphy. Do you think this will work?
Sir? It has to, he replied. Otherwise, a lot of people are going to die today. The minutes ticked by in tense silence. Then, the sensors lit up. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, the sensor officer called out. Voidborn fleet detected. Count is 187 vessels. Murphy studied the enemy formation on the display. The Voidborn ships were dark and angular, moving with precision toward the human decoy fleet. They're launching fighters, the tactical officer reported, and powering up weapon systems. On the display, Murphy watched as the old USS Relentless and the rest of Earth's official fleet began evasive maneuvers. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but their only job was to keep the Voidborn occupied long enough for the real attack to begin. The first shots were fired. Bright energy beams lanced out from the void-borne ships, striking several human vessels. The decoy fleet returned fire, their outdated weapons doing minimal damage. "Sir," Wright said quietly, "our old ships won't last long against that firepower." "They don't need to," Murphy replied. "Look at the void-borne formation. They're fully committed to the attack now. They think they're facing everything we have." From his position on the Harbinger, Murphy could see what the void-borne couldn't. The 300 advanced ships of Earth's real fleet, moving silently into position behind the enemy.
"Signal from Admiral Rivera," communications announced. "She's giving the go order." Murphy straightened in his chair. "All ships, full power to engines, weapons systems online. Execute attack pattern Omega." The hidden fleet surged forward as
1. Emerging from behind the small moon. The Voidborn, focused on destroying the decoy fleet, didn't detect the new threat until it was too late. "Target their propulsion systems," Murphy ordered. "Remember, these are our stolen designs. They have the same vulnerabilities we built into the prototypes." The EDS Harbinger fired its main weapons, not the crude laser systems the aliens were familiar with, but advanced gravity pulse cannons that the Confederation had never seen before. The energy beams struck the nearest void-borne ship precisely where its engines connected to the power core, causing a cascade failure that disabled the vessel without destroying it. All around them, Earth's hidden fleet executed similar precision strikes. Ship after ship in the void-borne fleet suddenly lost power, weapons, or propulsion. "Sir," Wright said with amazement, "it's working. They can't defend against targeted attacks on their design flaws." Murphy nodded. "And look at their formation. They're confused. They expected to face our old ships, not these." On the tactical display, the void-borne fleet was breaking formation, trying to regroup against this unexpected threat. Some ships attempted to flee, but the Earth vessels were faster, cutting off their escape routes. "Message from the Arctarian observation vessel," communications reported. They're asking what's happening." Murphy smiled. "Tell them, Earth is defending itself as promised." From his command chair, Murphy could imagine the scene on the Arctarian ships. The aliens who had dismissed humans as primitive were watching as those same primitives systematically disabled an enemy fleet that had terrified the entire Confederation. Within an hour, the battle was effectively over. More than half the Voidborn
fleet had been disabled and the rest had surrendered or fled. Earth's casualties were minimal. A few of the decoy ships had taken damage, but the advanced fleet had suffered almost no losses. "Admiral Rivera is hailing us," communications announced.
"And the Confederation Council is requesting an emergency meeting." "I bet they are," Murphy said with a slight smile. 6 hours later, Murphy stood beside Admiral Rivera in the Confederation Council chamber. The room was packed with representatives from all 17 species, but the usual background noise was absent. Everyone was silent, watching the humans with new eyes. High Commander Zexthal, the Arctarian who had dismissed Earth's fleet as ancient technology, approached them before the meeting began. "Your ships," he said, his 4 eyes blinking in patterns that suggested confusion and respect. "They are unlike anything we have seen before. How is this possible?" Admiral Rivera's expression remained neutral. "For centuries, humanity fought devastating wars among ourselves. When we reached the stars and met other civilizations, we remembered those lessons. We presented ourselves as less advanced than we truly were, to avoid being perceived as a threat. You deceived the entire Confederation," Zexthal accused, though his tone lacked the usual Arctarian arrogance. "We protected ourselves," Rivera corrected, "and today, we protected you as well." The council president called the meeting to order. On the main display, images of the battle showed Earth's advanced fleet in action. "The Voidborn threat has been neutralized," the president announced. "Thanks to the human fleet." Murphy could
hear the surprise in the alien's voice along with something new. "Respect. We have interrogated the captured Voidborn commanders," the president continued. "They have confirmed they were hired by a previously unknown species from beyond our
galaxy. This species hoped to weaken the Confederation through internal conflict before launching their own invasion." Murmurs spread through the chamber as the representatives realized how close they had come to falling into the trap. The human representatives have requested to address the council, the president said, gesturing to Rivera. Admiral Rivera stepped forward. What you saw today was humanity's true capability. We kept it hidden not out of deception but out of caution. History has taught us that when more advanced civilizations meet less advanced ones, the results are rarely peaceful. She paused, looking around the chamber. We came to the stars hoping for friendship but prepared for the worst. Today we proved our worth as allies. From now on, we ask to be treated as equal partners in the Confederation, not as primitive newcomers to be dismissed or patronized. The council chamber was silent for a moment. Then the president spoke. I believe recent events have made it clear that humans have earned their place among us. Does any representative object to upgrading Earth's status to full partner? No one spoke. As the meeting concluded and diplomatic teams began discussing a new security alliance, Murphy stood on a viewing platform overlooking the docked ships. Lieutenant Wright joined him. They're not laughing at our ancient fleet anymore, she said.
Murphy nodded. Humanity learned long ago that sometimes the best strategy is to be underestimated. The facade served its purpose. And now? Now we help build a stronger confederation, as equals.
He gestured to where Admiral Rivera was speaking with representatives from several species. Sometimes the oldest strategy is still the best. Peace through strength, and strength through preparation. With its secret revealed, humanity stepped
forward to take its rightful place among the stars. No longer dismissed, no longer underestimated, but finally respected.